The Canucks and Preds all even at a game apiece as we get set for tonight's Game 3 in Nashville. To talk about it, let's bring in Farhan Lalji. Farhan, what changes do the Canucks need to make tonight to look more like the team that they were in Game 1 than the team that lost Game 2?
Well, obviously, the answer for that is going to be to get some shots on goal as opposed to just anywhere around the backboards of the arena here, right? I mean, they've got to find a way to avoid the shot blocks and the fronting that Nashville is trying to do. But I think early success is really going to matter for this team. The Canucks are a team that scored 53 times in the first period this season. They scored first 53 times. They actually led the NHL in the number of first period goals they've scored. Right now, you've got a number of forwards for Vancouver that are playing very, very tight. If they can have some early success, I think that'll be able to allow them to kind of settle in, maybe take the crowd out of it. You know they're going to be excited in Nashville that they've come back with a 1-1 split there. So I just think if they can find a way to get some early success in this game, I think everybody is going to be able to take a deep breath and play a little more relaxed in what's going to be a hostile environment.
All right, Thatcher Demko update. I don't want to make anybody overly excited unnecessarily, but the word is, after we heard that he's gone week to week, that he's actually made the trip to Nashville. Do we read anything into that, or does he just like the hot wings at Tootsie's?
Well, I'm sure he likes the wings as well. But I think Thatcher Demko just wants to be on the trip, be with the team, provide moral support. He and Casey DeSmith are very close. You never know. I mean, might there be some additional rehab work being done on the side with Canuck medical staff that's there? I certainly think that's possible. You know, you've got the extra day between games and things like that. So it gives you an opportunity. You don't want to be away from all the staff for that long. So even though it's not a short trip to get to Nashville, I think the fact that he's there, I don't know that you can read a lot into that. There have been some various reports that have been out there that he potentially is done for the season. Rick Tocchet wanted to throw some cold water on that notion. He still says he's week to week. There's been some other reports that suggest that maybe he's going to be available at some point late in the second round of the playoffs if the Canucks get that far. But obviously, if he's with the team right now, it's a good thing. But I think more than anything else, it's moral support and getting all the resources at his disposal to do rehab with Canucks staff.
What's the update on Brock Boeser? He got a bit of a scare at practice.
Yeah, he took a shot off the hand on a power play drill yesterday, left practice early, but according to Rick Tocchet, he's like, Brock didn't even bring it up to me. So there is no concern there. In fact, he did take part in an optional morning skate this morning. So certainly look no worse for wear. We do believe Brock Boeser is playing with an injury issue. He did take some maintenance days late in the year. We also know that, he didn't play in that final game against Winnipeg. So there's something there. I just don't know if what happened yesterday necessarily added to it. And then as far as Tyler Myers is concerned, he did take part in the full practice yesterday. He didn't do the morning skate today. Only about half the skaters did. But Rick Tocchet confirmed he would be in the lineup tonight.
Okay, Farhan, I want to get back to the Thatcher Demko, Casey DeSmith story. Now, I understand the fact that obviously during the regular season, whenever Demko was in net, their save percentage was better than when DeSmith was. That's understandable. What I'm a little bit confused about is the Vancouver Canucks offense. The Canucks actually scored a half a goal more per game when Demko was in net than when Casey Smith did. Is there any way to explain the additional offense when Demko's in net?
Yeah, I think they tend to play a little bit more loose and know that they've got that goaltender to bail them out when he's back there. And Thatcher Demko's really been a backbone for this team. I mean, he hasn't necessarily had to save that many goals above expected relative to past seasons because the team has been structurally better around him. But just the confidence knowing that he's back there gives to these guys. Everybody gets 3 inches taller when Demko is playing. There's no doubt, right? And I think, we talked about the rebound control, the issue that Demko or that DeSmith certainly needs to improve on. It was ranked 57th among 64 qualifying goaltenders in terms of rebounds per shot faced. So, you probably see a scenario where they're a little more conservative. They're a little bit deeper in their own zone to potentially try to clear pucks and just make sure they're there to support their goaltender a little bit better. But, yeah, there's no doubt that Demko did get a lot more run support, and that's been something this team needs right now. They need to find a way to score. When you look at the top players in Vancouver's lineup right now, just look at Miller, Pettersson, and Boeser. They have combined for 265 points so far during the regular season. But in these two playoff games right now, they've combined for just 2. Boeser was virtually invisible in that last game. Pettersson missed a ton of shots. So their best players need to be their best regardless of who's behind them in goal.
You must love covering a team that's coached by Rick Tocchet because his honesty is amazing. During the regular season, we've heard him say some amazing stuff. We're like, I can't believe he just said that publicly. Tocchet made an interesting comment today after practice where he said, he was asked, what do you want to see different on this team? He says, I want to see us a little faster and playing a little more north. Who do you think he's talking to specifically, and what's he getting at there?
Yeah, I think he's talking to mainly his top forwards, right? He wants to see them play with a little more pace. There's quite often, you see this Canuck team, they play east-west a lot, especially when they get into the offensive zone. And they need to simplify some things and get a little more direct and get to the net that way. He wants to see them quicker on the breakouts as well. You see some times where there's some hesitancy in the neutral zone. You'll see it on the power play, especially when they try to, Quinn Hughes takes it, and then all of a sudden they want to put on the brakes and drop pass. I think they want to see them attack and be a little more aggressive. One of the other things Tocchet also said post-practice this morning is he said he does sense that some of his top players might be a little bit nervous, and he talked about them not worrying about the stage and just playing and how much that would help them. And you get the sense that's true. There was so much emotional buildup for that first game, first home playoff game in 9 years. You heard the crowd. There was a lot to that. And then, to the point where he didn't have a practice the next day because he could tell that it took its toll on the team emotionally, or at least he scaled that back to an optional as opposed to a full practice. So I think there's probably a lot in these guys' heads right now, and he wants them to relax and just play the way they're capable of playing.
How do you like the way he's handling this scenario right now? Because during the regular season, we heard him come out sometimes saying, hey, we just played too soft, and there were certain guys out there who just didn't show at all tonight. There are a few guys, Elias Pettersson, who really haven't done much so far in this playoff series, and yet up until this point, Tocchet's really kind of backed off and said, no, I'm comfortable with what they're doing. Do you like the way, for lack of a better term, he's coddling these guys right now rather than nailing them publicly?
Well, I don't know that he's ever going to nail Elias Pettersson. I just don't think that's how the player's wired. I don't think you're going to get the best out of him by doing that. There are other players that he could challenge more, and I think that's coming. And I think, when you say things like they might be a little bit nervous right now, they need to stop worrying about the stage, I do think that those are pointed remarks designed to say to these guys that, look, you need to figure this out sooner than later. So I think he has pushed all the right emotional buttons around this team. I mean, I think back to Game 3 when they lose to Philadelphia, and he comes out and says, who are we to think we're anybody, right? And I think he's capable. I think if he thinks his team needs that at this stage, he'll probably push that button. But at the end of the day, as bad as things looked in Game 2, they dominated big chunks of that game, and the series is only 1-1. They're not down 3-1 at this stage. I think there's going to be a time for him to maybe get a little bit more aggressive with his messaging, and I think he'll be prepared to do that.
All right, the Canucks and Preds all leaving at a game apiece in their series. Game 3 goes tonight in Nashville. Farhan, enjoy the game.
Thanks, Gino.